Springtime yoga. Let's load our bodies up. We're going to start with the 6 truths and a lie that we've been playing with together. So you're going to just start off on your back body, have the space to either side of the mat free for spinal twists, so you're not running into a water bottle or anything like that. Coming on to your back body, we're actually going to start with a few sighing breaths. That little bit of pranayam is a beautiful entry point to this practice. There's nothing to know, do, or slow, deep and wide through the nose, and exhaling through the mouth, giving your body to gravity. You might even say, "This is my yoga," or "This moment, this body, this breath." Practice softening. It might be one of the more challenging skills to develop as our modern humans. Be here now. When those sighing breaths are complete, turn the breath to moving only through the nose if you can, in and out, slow, deep, and wide. We'll come into our 3 points of introversion, lightly connecting the tip of the tongue, roof of the mouth, the gaze up and in towards the third eye, and your soft ujjayi, or great sounding breath, that little throat contraction. And of course, if any of that feels not right, too much, let it go. It's all just the way it is to our body and our practice and the present moment. And so our first pose, if you will, of 6 truths and a lie, to me is one of the best ways to just globally get into our body and breath. On your exhale, compression exhale, belly towards spine, spine towards floor, firmly, slowly compressing out every droplet of breath. And I recommend whispering, emptying, 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 emptying. Or whatever you want to say, but whispering will help you know, hey, there's still breath in there, get it out. And then when there's nothing left, soften, allow yourself to be breathed. And at the very end, expand it or sip in a little extra. Exhaling compression, inhaling expansion. We'll do a half a dozen rounds or so. During compression, you might decide to use your hands to poke and talk to some of the abdominal muscles that you feel are weak and you'd like to get stronger and more awake. Also a beautiful moment to practice softening in the neck and shoulders. A lot of us tighten in the neck shoulder area when we're trying to do anything. And most of the time we don't need to. It's just a weird habit. So it's a great place to break that habit. Couple more. Emptying, emptying, asking, is there any more? Save with the filling. Of course, I've called our little initial flow that we're doing this morning 6 truths and a lie. And of course, really, there's like 20 poses that I want you to do, but these are the most basic. And if I can only pick 2, it's the one you just completed, compression, expansion, and the one you're going to move into, bridge pose. After a few rounds, we'll add the foot hover. Bring the feet up under the knees, work the shoulder blades in towards the spine and down the body before exhaling and raising the hips into bridge. Noticing, is there more exhale? Letting a very slow inhale descend you one rib at a time. The slowness is important because that's what's working and tonifying our back body to be there for everything else you want to do during this day. Rising, descending. And on this last round, we'll hold in the bridge pose. Make sure your feet aren't too far apart. You can add a little more shoulder blade sandwich if it feels good. And then you're raising one foot just an inch or so to hover off the floor. And the goal being to keep those hips stable, or if you notice them dropping, it's usually the one with the foot you raised, reignite and see if you can stabilize. Another little note, if you feel any low back intensity, try to tuck your tailbone. Think about kind of squeezing your glutes and tucking your pubic bone towards the ceiling. That might take away any of that tension. All right, slowly on down, and oh, it'll feel so good to bring knees to belly. We're going to take this into spinal twist, and of course, everybody's got their own version. I generally do double knee down or embryo pose. So taking your knees to one side, using your floor hand perhaps to anchor the thighs, and inhale, opening that top arm out behind, perhaps following it with your head, your vision. We're going to do about 3 breaths on each side. If you want to kind of exhale, come out of the twist, and inhale, recreate it, totally up to you. At some point, you might hold in the twist and sweep that arm above the head, or even circle across the body. This is helping your spine, your shoulders. Some of us might even feel it into the hips and the psoas. Maybe you want to last moment, extend that top leg into your waiting hand. Feel free. And then knees bent again, other side for spinal twist. Remember, you can always add something to support underneath the head, especially if your shoulder is kind of right into the floor. Some of us, you might be able to scooch your shoulder closer to the edge of the mat, and then you're more on the flat of your shoulder blade. Inhaling. Is there more? Exhaling, perhaps returning to embryo, or just settling deeper into your twist. Committing to deep breath here is a part of the transformation that twists can give us. So this should not be static and just sort of shallow breathing and so on. You should feel the breath like a beautiful wave that's moving your body in space. Again, maybe extending that top leg out in front of you. If that just feels ouchy or something, don't do it. And then we're coming back to center for our reclined pigeon. So planting left foot, crossing right ankle to left thigh, heels flexed to protect the knee. Hug the right knee as tightly to your chest as you can. You might even take a breath just like that, but then you're going to send the knee a little towards the center line. For me, it takes about an inch before I've got a wonderful edge of intensity going on in that right glute piriformis muscle. Of course, remember, you can do any little organic adjustments, but for sure, anchor those shoulders so it's not coming from your neck and shoulder area. It's in your core power. Boom. Slowly back to center and switch. Sometimes I like to take that knee that was bent and kind of give it a little kick straight into the sky, switching left ankle to right thigh. Heels flexed. Hug that left knee. So here we are on our 4th pose of 6 truths and a lie. So we do 4 of them on our back, and then we've got 3 more where we're facing the floor. So that's kind of helpful if you're trying to remember. And of course, you can add more. You might have told yourself you're going to do 7, but maybe you do 9. That's okay. And slowly release. We're going to bring knees to belly, and I'm going to be coming to seated to prepare for forearm plank by a little spinal rocking. So I'm going to spinal rock onto my butt, legs crossed, roll forward onto my forearms, pause with the shoulder heads anchored, belly to spine, so you're kind of a cat back before you step back 1 foot and then the other, very actively firmly. Yeah, and of course you can right away drop to knees and do knee down, absolutely. Let's do about 3 full breaths there. Now that you've got your alignment, you might think about lengthening the spine. So finding a beautiful long line from the heels to the crown that kind of settles the body into neutral. And as you're ready to move on to our 6th posture, slowly releasing all the way to the floor, anchoring pelvis, palms facing the floor for jet airplane. Inhaling, extend, inflate. Is there more? And you get a little extra air in that belly. Exhale, slow descent. Letting breath initiate motion. That's a really difficult thing to do. You know, we tend to kind of want to rush to the next thing. But I love coming out of my jet airplane and really relaxing, letting those last whispers of exhale and empty the body, exit the body. I'm having a hard time with words this morning. Thanks for your patience. And one more, if you'd like to hold, maybe you've been extending the legs. You might be sweeping one arm forward, one arm back, and then we're moving to downward facing dog. If that's not right for your body, substitute child's pose, or you might do one and then the other. No wings, no shrugs, glutes are squeezed down. We push with our hands so the arms are straight, curl the toes under, and downward facing dog, intelligent hands, leading through the pad of thumb and index finger and pedaling, pressing one heel towards the floor, and then the other. And you might be taking those feet out wide, however you'd like. 2 more slow, deep and wide breaths. Think about the power you created during compression exhale and bring that into your core. So it's drawing into the back body. You're not just hanging on your joints. And then wherever your feet are, your choice, they might be close together or wide. We're going to walk the hands back to the feet, nice and slow. And technically, we're in ragdoll, which I guess might be the 8th pose. And we're going to complete root and rise. Prayer hands. You might connect the thumbs lightly at the heart space. This, of course, is mountain pose. So maybe you decide to do 9 truths. That would be a great practice. All right. We're coming straight into tree pose from here. So I'm going to have you walk your big toes together. And I think this is a great time of year to start upping our foot intelligence. We might be doing more barefoot and kind of aware of where we are. Go ahead and lift the other 8 toes. So big toes anchored, lift the 8. See if you can spread them out. You can always use your fingers to help. All right, as we're ready, then squeeze those thighs in your tree trunk. Bring the right foot into kickstand. Perhaps bring it up the calf, up to you, never at the knee. And then I want you to just see if you can find a little more length internally. So maybe it's in the thigh hip area, maybe it's in the ribs, the heart, and then shoulders sliding down. Find your tree limbs. It's kind of fun this time of year when you can still see the structure of the trees and the leaves are just coming on. The willows are bright yellow. So practicing losing and regaining balance with grace. Maybe a soft smile, abiding breath regardless. If this is actually so easy that you're not really wobbling, consider closing your eyes and making it harder. One more abiding breath. And then slowly releasing that foot. Roll out wrist ankles, whatever feels good, and then other side. So when you've got your foot up on the calf, for example, really try to flare the toes away from the leg. And what's cool about that is that you're very alert in the ball of the foot. If you're coming out, you can kind of lightly touch down and come back in. It becomes like a fun, organic dance, less of a struggle. So close the eyes for an extra bit of fun. Add your tree branches at any time. Maybe you're a blossoming cherry or plum tree right now. Deep inhalation. Each exhale, refinding that sense of core support and stability at the waist. One more long breath. And exhaling, slow release. Good. And we'll return to ragdoll. Bend the knees. Let the head hang fully if you can. If this is too much, remember you can always put elbows on thighs. Otherwise, a few deep breaths here, inviting you to send your hips a little side to side, and you might even kind of swing and sweep the area around you. Even here, we've got core support. There's an abdominal support up into the spine, thinking maybe about that little low robot belly, as we call it. All right, we're going to come into a little flow here. Sometimes people find it helpful to have a block or something under the hands. I should have warned you, but feel free if you want me to be your runner. On your next inhale, hands either on the block or the shins, extend the spine forward. So we're in a little bit of a jackknife. Exhaling, tuck the tailbone into chair pose. So maybe you're nice and deep, maybe you're in a lovely little bar stool height. And ever so slowly, I'm going to ask you to lift one foot and then the other. I've got my arms straight in front of me because I find that creates less neck tension than having them up, but that's a classic yoga position. And then the next time your right knee is up, just come up, standing crane. Exhaling, step back, right foot only. Crescent lunge, you got it. Inhaling, opening to your goalposts. We did this last week, I think it was. Nice little twist to the left, big inhale. Exhaling, it starts with the hip bones, left hip bone back, and then the lower belly and the mid belly, but the neck and shoulders stay aligned with the collarbone, right? So I'm not trying to over twist. Inhale, center. You can always add a little lift of the heart. That's going to give us an extra stretch in the hips. Neutral exhale, rotate left. So tempting to send those arms, isn't it? Yeah. Inhaling center, little back bend if you want it. One more time, get neutral and then exhale left. Inhale back to center, a little lift. Exhaling, plant the hands and step back, downward facing dog. Sometimes I add a sighing breath here to just help me deepen in the pose in that moment. Beautiful. Inhaling, we're going to come forward into plank. Some of us will want to drop knees. I always do for my first plank of the day. And I want you to remember, all this is about core drawing up and in. We're not lowering our body, we're just bending the elbows as our belly draws towards the ceiling. Chaturanga. Inhaling, pelvis anchors, cobra pose as we extend the spine, shoulders peel down the back. Exhaling, press back either child's pose or downward facing dog. What feels right today? We're going to bring that right foot forward. I'm going to ask you to do a little launch. Again, sometimes it's nice to have a block under your hands. We're going to do a little launch with that left leg. Okay, so however you want to do it, you're going to very slowly, lots of core lift. Put all your weight on your right leg, left leg flying, and just see if you can straighten that standing leg a little bit. We don't care if it ever gets straight, but that back leg, the flying leg, is foot flexed, heel, reaching for the wall behind you. One more long breath in, and slowly release that foot to the floor. You're in your right dog. Inhaling, extending the spine halfway up, either the hand on the block or the shin bones, nice long back of the neck. Exhale, sit into chair or bar stool. You might only be in a teeny bit of a knee bend. It doesn't take much to work the glutes and the thighs, so it's all good. And then we're just going to do a little hike again, lifting one foot and then the other. I should have a name for this. There's something about it that feels like it needs a name. I don't know. And as you're ready, come up on your right leg, left knee lifting, standing crane. Again, find a little extra length in your body. Maybe it's right up the back of the neck. And then slowly step back to your crescent lunge. Right hip bone back, left hip bone forward, goalpost arms. And if you want to do something different here, you can, right? But otherwise, exhaling, we're twisting to the right. If you want to have your arms out instead of goalposts, whatever. Inhaling back to center. If you want a little heart lift to get that stretch in the hip flexors, go for it. Always neutral to spine before rotating again. It's like we're wringing the rag, as I think of like a kitchen rag at the waistline. One more twist. One more little back bend if you're doing it. Inhale, exhaling, step back to your downward facing dog. And maybe a sighing breath, perhaps working both heels towards the floor, lifting the hips higher, higher. All that core, inhaling to your plank. One way to check that you're in your core is to try hopping. If it hurts your toes or something, don't do it. Exhaling chaturanga, our hips stay high. Our mouth should be the first thing to arrive. Kiss the earth. Inhaling either cobra, or if you extend the arms and let the hips suspend, you're in your upward dog, either on tops of the feet or balls. Exhaling, belly takes you back, downward facing dog. We're gonna step the left foot forward, nice and slow. Remember to get it right below your knees. So if you've got to grab it, yeah, good job. Grab it, get it under there, because that's gonna make your launch a lot more fun. And you can spend a little time going back and forth, shifting the weight until you're ready to fold and extend that right leg behind you. Some of you might know or remember this is a very early part of the preparation for our standing half moon, which we're not doing, but if this feels familiar, you got it. One more big breath. See if you can fold more deeply on the exhale. Emptying, emptying. Good. And then slowly, both feet front of the mat. Inhaling, root and rise. Big glute squeeze. Exhaling, resolve prayer hands. Maybe dipping the chin a little bit down and in towards the base of the skull. Feel that little release back there. I call those the I've gotta muscles. And I know springtime can be super go, go, go for people. Let's make it softer and more fun and less urgent. And I gotta. To that end, we're gonna come into some stretching for that area, lion stretch. I like sometimes putting my hands right on the base of the skull so I can feel what lion stretch is doing, but otherwise you might be taking your arms in the movement, all right? So inhaling, you might sweep up. Exhaling, making claws and opening the mouth wide. Yeah, and you should, if your hands are at that base of the skull, you should feel that work happen. Again. Maybe you're sticking the tongue out. Maybe you're drawing the tongue back, like someone's using a tongue depressor. These are super useful for creating circulation in your throat tissues that take on so much challenge in times of allergies. So super useful. Now that you've done that, let's take those hands back there, and I want you to use your thumbs to massage up and around those bony protuberances at the base of the skull, the occipital ridge. So you just sort of hold your whole head and then massage around there. Yeah, and if you want from there, you might decide to just give yourself a full scalp rub. I had somebody in last night's class do that and they went, oh, wood tick or deer tick. I was like, this is a great practice this spring, because guess what? They're out there. So be checking yourself, but why not make it a massage experience, right? Excellent, letting that go. We're gonna move sideways on our mat. We're gonna be folding and adding yoga mudra. So if you wanna have a strap handy to clasp between the hands, go for it. If you just don't like doing it in the fold, stay upright, intertwine your hands here. Otherwise, right here, we're gonna fold. I like doing this with a deep fold. You can see I've got my butt hanging real low. I'm not trying to straighten my legs at all because I don't want my hamstrings, which are tight, to get in the way of my shoulder opener. So intertwining fingers, palms facing. Breathing. Sometimes I kind of come out of the edge of the pose completely. I bring my hands back to my hips on the inhale, and then exhaling, I reignite, fists towards the ceiling. If you can barely get them up off of the hips, if they're just kind of coming off a little bit, that's where you absolutely want to strap them. You guys look good. Ooh, now remember, sometimes when we've been downward, it can get a little bit lightheaded when we come up, so please take your time. Maybe using your fist to press behind you and bring you up, or you can release, use hands on thighs. And we're moving right into standing jet airplane. We've got a nice wide stance, palms facing forward. I'm going to ask you to find beautiful ignition in the body, but total softness in the neck. I'm going to take my head side to side to check because I'm a chronic tightener. Marvelous, folks. I'm going to have you slide those hands up a little bit. This is actually called five-pointed star. I kind of tend to think of it now as hug emoji. But this pose is lovely for energy and mood. So we'll just take maybe half a dozen breaths here, connecting with earth and heaven energy, with our own amazing vessel that we're in. Inhaling and exhaling, asking, is there more? Maybe a soft smile, affirming, I am whole, I am safe, I am well. On your last inhale here, sweeping the palms slowly up. And don't make them come together if that tightens your neck, but you might otherwise touch all 10 fingertips and everyone prayer hands resolving at the sternum point. So we're going to go into a fun little flow that will have you going kind of backwards and forwards on your mat. So you don't need to see me. I think you pretty much all know what you're doing. If you're wanting to skip dog series as a whole, when we step back to downward dog, I would move to downward dog if you like that, and then just drop to your hands and knees and play with cow-cat, for example. It's a great alternative, or if you want to do something standing, all right? Inhaling, root and rise, nice glute squeeze, maybe gazing up at the hands. Exhaling, nice deep fold, belly to spine, compression breath. Walk those feet wider and begin to go side to side in your straddle. If the floor is too far to be comfortable, you can have your hands on a block and using that, again, up on thighs. Otherwise, I'm hoping you can get to the floor if you take your feet wide enough, because it feels so good to let the head hang with gravity while your powerful core draws up and in. Hold to one side, 3 big breaths. Give it room on the inhale. Sometimes I actually straighten my arms a little bit, and then I exhale, compress on the exhale, folding. Remember the power of that other foot and that straightening leg. You don't want that just to get floppy. It's your engine here. And then slowly to the other side, other leg straight. I hope you're bringing inhale not just into your belly and chest, but your side body and your back body. And then I'm going to have you, whichever way, walk towards your other foot and then rotate, plant hands, and step back, downward facing dog. And if you want a little extra fun, core support, see if you can hop, kick your butt. And then inhaling, flowing forward to your plank or dropping knees to your table. Knees or feet in plank, and then exhaling, chaturanga. Nice slow descent. Remember, you may not go all the way down with control. You can flop, that's okay. Inhaling cobra or upward dog, or gosh, maybe you're missing jet airplane. You're like, I want more than that. Exhaling, step back or press back, downward facing dog. I'm going to hold for a couple of breaths. And we're going to slowly walk one foot forward. Maybe it's in one big lunge. Maybe you got to grab it. And then rotate into your straddle and go a little side to side. Doesn't matter which way you're facing. But I do want you to remember where your head was in that previous dog series. And when you're ready, we're now going to rotate the other way. So hands and head at the other end, step back, downward facing dog. Maybe like that hopping bit. It's a great way to get a little bit of elevated heart rate, that's for sure. Inhaling plank. Neck is soft. Exhaling, slow, low push-up. Remember, it might just be 1 inch elbow bend. That's great core work. We can soften the neck. Inhaling cobra or upward dog or jet airplane. Exhaling downward facing dog or child's pose. We're going to all be meeting in child's pose. But take your time, find 3 or so breaths. Notice your heart rate. Find the gap or pause between the waves of inhale and exhale. So a meeting in child's pose, inviting you to create a side stretch with me. Side body is actually a huge part of both our core strength and flexibility, our ability to do things in the garden and so on and not get injured big time. So I'm going to extend my arms all the way forward. My butt's as far back as I can go. Walk my hands forward until the arms are as straight as possible. Then I'm going to lift the chest and walk my hands, for example, to the left. And I'm just guiding you in this way because I see a lot of people bend their arms and they kind of just have them close to them. In this case, as I'm to the left, I want to make sure my right arm is completely straight. That's what's going to give me that stretch on that right side. Again, I often will lift out of the pose just a little bit to get the fullness of inhale so that I can exhale and settle more deeply. Yeah, when you're ready to switch and go to the other side, lift the torso a little bit. We never want to move laterally with the shoulders when they're in kind of a, a hyper extension or extension. So what's it like on this side? Is this side different? Being extremely tight down this side body, by the way, can really pull on the hip joints as well as the shoulder joints. It can totally affect our SI joints at that lower back sacral area. So it's a wonderful time to get to know what is in there and does it need loving attention. And come on back to your center. Coming up now on the attentive fingertips so that we're really working the upper arm and upper back in a different way. If you can, get your arms completely straight and no part of the arm touching the floor. Keep walking the butt back and fingertips forward. Let's take one more big breath. And then let it go, get melty. Then on your next exhale, tuck the tailbone coming into your table pose, adjusting so the hands are right below the shoulders. Inhaling cow and exhaling cat. Like I said, really, cow cat should be on the must-haves of poses for every day. I had to find a way to limit it, so that it wasn't too intimidating. But maybe you want to do cow cat and something instead of something else in the 6 truths of the lie. See, it's all up for grabs. We're going to be coming into some core work here, and I love this form of core work because it's relatively easy on neck, however, and wrists. You're still on your palms here. If you'd rather not be, come onto your fists with your thumbs forward. Okay, so that's important. You'd have to take off rings, for example, but you'd be on your fists with your thumbs straight forward like so. Fingers are just kind of folded in. As you're ready, you're going to find that stable table, as we call it, right? So you're not collapsing or hanging here. You should be able to clap. That's kind of how you know. And we're going to lift right hand and left knee. And I'm going to ask you to hold there for a couple of breaths, checking in with your neck, inviting it to remain soft. Ever so slowly plant those limbs. Notice what it's like when all 4 limbs are bearing the weight equally. It's kind of peaceful, isn't it? You're like, ah. Yeah, let's take the left hand and right knee and lift it just an inch. Breathing in spite of the tensions in the abdomen and those muscles. Slowly return. Ooh, all right, we're gonna keep with that work and we're gonna add limb extension. So lifting right hand, left knee, then extend, please, and hold for a couple of breaths. Again, theoretically, you should be able to lift your left hand off the floor. Yeah, that was nice. On your next exhale, slowly return, and I mean glacially slow. And all four limbs. Okay. Other side, left hand, right knee, then extending. Make a real effort to get long in the back of the neck, so you might even kind of bring your chin a little in towards your throat. Get that back leg actively straight. Make sure you're lifted in your core. One more long inhale. Exhale, slow, slow return. Isn't it amazing how much more work the slow return is? Yeah, because you're resisting gravity. Let's do one more round each side, just inhaling, extending. Is there more? I bet there is. You guys are yogis. You've got great breath capacity. Exhaling, slow descend. And you might complete your exhale in table, emptying, emptying, emptying. Inhaling, extending. The other side. Getting a little straighter in that back leg. Yeah, and then slow return. And I've got some nice dessert for you. Grab your block. We're going to be doing waterfall, or I'm going to offer that, which is where we actually end up kind of straightening our legs when our hips are up on the block. So a little softer one can feel nice. The cork ones are the ones that are, I think, a little too firm. You can even put a blanket over it or something. Yeah, please take one. So essentially, we're going to be doing 3 poses here, and I'll guide you through. The first is we are just planting the feet, raising the hips, and then settling the hips onto the block or object of support right at the sacral triangle. So it's not in the lower back. And in fact, we're going to hang out for a few breaths, inviting our lower back to elongate and settle towards the floor. If that's not really happening, you could move the block down even a half an inch, and it might make the difference, giving you that lower back traction. You guys feeling that? I'm hoping it feels like a good massage. Okay, good. And of course, if you can work your shoulder blades a little in towards the spine, that is just going to make things better, especially as we add this next pose, waterfall. So you're going to bring one knee at a time into the belly. Sometimes I end up holding the block here with my hands and kind of rocking my hips a little bit side to side till I feel like I've got just the right position. And then legs are together, feet flex towards the sky. Legs are straight if you can. And as you're ready, you just slowly begin pulsing your feet towards the wall behind you. So it's just a small swinging, pulsing motion. And I'm pretty tired of hiking hamstrings, so I appreciate this stretch where gravity is kind of helping me, you know? Feels real nice. Little add-on here, opportunity to open the legs into your straddle, still feet flexed. So again, those of us who are pretty tight, and when you do straddle normally with the butt on the floor, this might feel really difficult. I'm hoping that the support of the block makes this just much more enjoyable. This is a pose you can do up against the wall and can be a marvelous shavasana, basically a replacement for shavasana. To come out of the straddle, please have the hands on the outsides of the legs, and you might then bend the knees, let the heels just flop, and you're using the hands for support to come back in. Then one foot to the floor at a time, and then extending one leg at a time into that drape that we often do. Again, adjusting the block so that it feels like it's just right at the center point of your drape. So your pelvis isn't tilting down or forward. And if you're experiencing any neck pressure, tune in and make adjustments, maybe lifting the chin up and back, working the shoulder blades in. I've got my arms out in jet airplane. And as you spend a few breaths here, the more you can emphasize expansion into that abdominal area, the better. Right? Again, internal organs are getting some wonderful massage experience here, a little inversion in these poses we've been doing. Never let me rush you. If you found something that feels so good, you might be reluctant to come out. When you do come out, notice you want to bend your knees again, then lift the hips, remove the object to support. And you might want to bring knees to belly, for example, as a nice counter shape. We're going to be coming into abdominal pumping. So most of us lay flat in corpse pose for that. Some of you might prefer to have the knees bent if your lower back is feeling challenged at all. But laying flat on the floor, we're going to inhale slow, deep, and wide. Exhale, empty the breath, just like you did in compression. Hold it out and begin pumping the belly like you're saying, see how skinny I am. And then big Buddha belly. And this is all without breathing. And when you need to breathe, of course, let the pumping go. And we'll plan to do a couple more rounds. Again, everyone's got a different pace of pumping. One of my favorite things is to do that deep engagement in, but then kind of hold and try to draw up and in more. And sometimes that'll create almost a stretch or a cough really up into my chest or throat. And the Chinese or Asian approach to medicine has always talked about how most pain and illness is where we have stagnation, where we have lack of flow. So take notice, where are you experiencing some tightness or what have you? The right hip up to the right rib is our ascending colon area. And then if you go around and down, that's the descending colon. And we're going to get into that a little bit here with our release wind pose, we call it. So as you're ready, nice core support. Again, don't rush if you're still belly pumping, awesome. Right knee drawing it all the way tight into the belly as best you can. No wings, no shrugs, ease in the neck. Left leg is extended, left foot firmly flexed. I'm gonna ask you to take a few big belly breaths here. Some people like adding a little sit-up motion on the exhale. It's as if you're trying to kiss your knee. Always honoring the inhale, its need for space. We tend to feel that we're accomplishing more on the exhale. But that is not true. All right, last exhale here. Is there more? On your inhale, release the spine. Take your right leg straight to the sky. Roll out that ankle. Inhale. Exhale, root the back into the floor, total contact, and slowly extend that right leg like you're trying to draw a line on the wall in front of you, keeping your back rooted. If you can't, then bend the knees so that you are counterbalancing less weight, and then practice melting. This moment, this body, this breath. It's as if you were never going to move again. But then you do. Left knee into the belly, release wind pose. Right heel extending firmly. No wings, no shrugs. That means elbows coming in, shoulders anchoring down, neck soft. If you'd like to add the sit-up motion, please do. If your neck is feeling pretty tight these days, I'd leave it at. And you might have that right leg extended, flying a little bit, just an inch or so off the floor. Still reaching for the wall in front of you. Scanning the body for unnecessary tension, right? So just the tip of the tongue connecting, rest of the tongue and jaw soft. And inhaling, extending to the sky. Exhaling, rooting, and slowly descending. Excellent. I'm going to give us the opportunity to do a double leg release, so both at the same time. If you had any difficulty keeping your lower back rooted with one leg, then just do each leg again. So you take right leg to the sky, extend that, and then left. We're going to do 2 rounds of 2 legs. So both legs are up, sandwiched together. This is if you're holding something between the thighs, you don't want it to flow away. And remember, you can bend the knees to make this less intense. But the deep practice here is staying rooted through the back and relaxed through the neck. Inhaling as if it's all you'd ever do. Exhale, root, and slowly descend, keeping those abdominal muscles powering down. And melting. And creating that pose again, or again, maybe you were doing one leg at a time, you'll do your other leg, inhaling. Exhaling. Remember, if you're using 2 legs, please squeeze them together. Make deep contact. We're going to come into another round of spinal twist. And totally up to you. Maybe you're recreating our embryo pose version that I did. Maybe you like doing a single knee down twist where you're just crossing one knee across the body. Perhaps you like the extra kind of stretch along the outsides of the leg and hip, and you want to kind of cross into eagle legs or just one knee over the other. So if you're doing that, it'd be right knee over left, and then rotating the hips and legs to the left. And all of these options are basically designed to give you some nice additional stretching where you want it. If in fact all you feel is like a pull, don't do it. Go find a version that is really pretty luscious. And that way you'll be able to emphasize the key here, which is the breath. So get that inhale so big that it lifts you out of your twist a little bit. And on the exhales, luxuriate, settling in with gravity again. And of course, when you feel ready, other side. So spinal twist is so interesting because it's not just about the spine or the waistline, of course, right? We get all this opportunity to open the shoulder and chest and even the neck if you rotate the head a little here and there, but then all the way down into the butt, the thighs. It's kind of a one-all, it's great. Feel complete with that and come back. I'm going to bring us into one more round of bridge pose, but I'm actually doing a little add-on here. And we're building up actually to approaching a very modified shoulder stand, half shoulder stand basically, that some of you may decide not to do. Waterfall is kind of neat, the pose we did with our butt up on the block, because it gives you a little of some of that feeling. So I'll talk you through how to find the right level. But for right now, we're going to get our shoulder blade wingtips in towards the spine, coming up into our bridge, making sure again that you've got kind of a tuck in the tailbone so you're no low back stress. Then bring the right knee into the belly and then send the right leg up to the sky. And you might be powering down through your upper arms, however you like to do it. Good. See if you've got one more big inhale, rising, rising, and then bend the knee. Return the foot, return to the floor, and maybe a little knees to belly. Big breath, always fueling us. Like I say, our breath is our change agent. And we'll return to bridge pose, anchoring through the feet, the upper arms, Nice tuck of the tailbone, left knee in towards the belly, then straightening that leg to the sky, heel flexed. Couple of breaths here, staying soft in the neck, the jaw. And then slowly returning knee to belly, then foot to floor, and then hips to floor. Give yourself a nice little hug of the knees to the chest. And if you want to release the feet and take your hands to the base of the skull once more, it'd be a nice time to kind of check in and just see how is that occipital ridge and all of the kind of connecting tissues up into that through the neck. How are they feeling? During this modified shoulder stand, I'm going to invite people to take a block, if you've got something that isn't too thick, and place it between the thighs as a reminder to stay connected inward. A lot of times people go up into shoulder stands and their legs are flopping all over, okay? And that's actually really dangerous. So I'm going to take us into this modified version. I'm going to talk through it now, but I'm also showing you. So if you want to just look first and then come into it, you're welcome to do that. Shoulder blades in and down, chin reaching up and back to take my neck out of any potential for a pull. Feet are flexed and I'm squeezing the block and I'm gonna rock until I can get my hips up off the floor and into my hands. If that doesn't work with ease, hold on and I'll show you a wall version in a moment, okay? Then you walk your elbows in, shoulders in as far as they comfortably can go. And some of you might feel like, hey, I think I can extend the legs and that feels really good. If not, just hang out with them bent. We are not taking our feet up over our head and plow. Please do not. If you want to try and go higher, you can walk your hands kind of higher up the back and see if you can get your feet more straight to the sky. But all of that is sort of, you know, gravy, if you will. To come out, you slowly let those hips come down and okay? The wall version is pretty fun because you don't ever have to take the feet off the wall and you get all this wonderful inversion experience. Obviously, if you've got like blood pressure issues this morning or eye pressure, head pressure, if you're feeling a lot of sinus stuff, inversions maybe not your best place today. But if you sit sideways and you scooch your hip up against the wall, and then you just sort of spiral until your butt is facing the wall. And if you're not close enough for your taste, you can kind of scooch your way. And then you're just going to plant your feet on the wall like you do in bridge. Again, same basics, working the shoulder blades in and down. And then as you're ready, nice core support, curling the hips up off the floor. And so, you know, you don't have to get very far off the floor to have this be fun, I think. But if you want, you can get them higher. Then once again, get your hands in under the hips, but without that kind of rocking and rolling, which is sometimes a bit much for people. And then you can take one leg at a time, release from the wall, or both, and you're in your shoulder stand. You can also bring one leg back at a time, slowly descend to hips. And here's that wall version of straddle that I was describing earlier when we were in waterfall with our hips up on the block. Reminder, if you come out of that, you might want to use the hands for support, and maybe you're hanging out in butterfly. So that might even be, some of you, your chosen, you know, Shavasana position at some point, or your resting time. Shavasana is technically corpse pose, but we often kind of use it as our loose term for our resting time. So I'm going to ask you to notice, we've been everywhere, right? Been up, down, forward, back. Is there anything that in this moment your body is craving? We're going to be doing some pranayam and then settling into our yogic rest time. Maybe maybe you want to get a drink of water. Maybe you want to add a layer. Maybe there's a particular posture that we didn't do that your body's hungering for. I guess some things supposed to do happy baby. If you're wanting more core work, you might decide, oh, I'm going to do that robot posture, right? Where we're hyper engaging the low abdomen. The world is your yoga oyster. So take the next minute or so to investigate what your body might want. I know one person before practice mentioned piriformis muscle being kind of intense. Maybe you want to go back and do that reclined pigeon or a classic pigeon to just touch base with that area again and see. Hopefully it's evolved some because of our practice. That is the great gift of yoga, I feel like, is it doesn't always fix everything, but it always evolves us. We're never the same. When that's all complete for you, please arrange your body in your resting posture. Right? It could be with something tucked under your knees. Maybe you want to, again, use the wall and take the legs up the wall, or even if you're at home and you will have an ottoman, you might want to just lay your lower legs up on the ottoman or couch. And I'm going to be inviting us through some pranayam. We're going to be doing first our box breath, which is renowned for helping build focus. And then we'll be simplifying from there into the basic breath locks, the holding out and the holding in. Box breath has breath locks as well, but we aren't holding them as long as we can. We're just holding them for the 4 counts or whatever our other breaths are. So box breath is 4 equal parts. Inhale, holding in, exhale, holding out. And we always say 4 counts, but that's arbitrary. So it's your length where you neither feel that you're starved for breath or you're rushing the breath. It might take you a couple of rounds to get into that groove. Some people literally imagine the 4 sides of a box. Maybe that works for you too. All right, as you're ready, eyes closed, relaxing through the neck and the body. And inhaling slow, deep and wide. And then holding in. And then exhaling, slow and deep. And holding out. And continue in this way to your timing. 4 parts each. As I mentioned, box breath is beautifully designed to help us create focus and maintain and train those muscles. But inevitably, our focus will wander. Simply notice, return to box breath. You can always start a new cycle if you've lost your way. We'll be doing this for about 5 minutes. They say that 10 minutes of yogic breath replaces about an hour of lost sleep. Though this feels very simple, the work that you're doing has a profound effect on the deepest systems of the body. Next time you've completed a box, please shift into simple breath works, holding out and holding in for about 3 rounds before you let yourself drift fully into your yogic rest, where the body does so much recalibrating and repair. So we're holding out and holding in as long as we can without creating a struggle. So we're asking, can I soften around this? Noticing the subtle places the body contracts, seducing them into letting go until the need to breathe is there. Just know that for many people, they can feel a little bit anxious while they're holding the breath, either out or in. And it's great to remember that you can breathe whenever you'd like, but this is a very safe place to meet your own discomfort and practice softening. When those 3 breath cycles are complete, letting yourself settle deeply in with gravity, down and down and down. Breath becoming soft and passive, like a baby sleeping. breath. Witnessing where you feel breath touching, where you feel fabric moving against your skin. Become gently aware of the room around you and the sense of the world out beyond the walls, the flow of life. What energy would you like to return to that flow? It might be the attention with which you interact with the natural world. It might be imagining how you want to interact with the people that you're going to connect with today. It's just about your internal state, your words to self, how much I've gotta you run through your system. You feel complete with your scan. You might close your practice with the first rub of the palms, building your own heat, healing prana, life force, chi, all the same things, different words, and then directing it lovingly into your own system, whether it's heart, abdomen, eyes, maybe there's somewhere else that needs the support. Affirming wholeness, affirming goodness, affirming peace, shanti. So much, everyone, for being here. Namaste. The fun being you out there, shine on. Consider doing the 6 truths and a lie, or some version, 7, 8, 9, 20.
Lots of lies.
Exactly. So many lies. Have fun.